So I recently came across the story again of Charlie. The first time I encountered it was in a Lomax book about the history of the blues, field notes from the Mississippi Delta. This time I encountered it in a song by Mike Madison. It struck me as being more relevant today than ever before. I jotted down my notes. Come along with me as I talk them out. So, what about the Mercy Man? I recently encountered this song that jogged my memory about a story that I read in a book about the history of blues, which were basically field notes from the 1900s America in Mississippi and these levee camps, right? And a term that we loosely have here is Mr. Charlie, which is talking about the white boss, you know. That term stems from this kind of, from these levee camps. But when I encountered this song by Mike Madison, Charlie Idaho, it got me to thinking about where all this is today. What happens when mercy enters a world, right? And mercy wants to change that world, but it can't. Follow me. So I suggest you go back and listen to this song. It's on the Afterglow record by Mike Madison. It's called Charlie Idaho, and you hear him refer to this guy as the Mercy Man. And so the Mercy Man was like the animal rights, animal welfare person before there were animal rights, right? It was the government man, right? Before the SPCA. And they were charged with going down to these levee camps and these labor camps to make sure that the mules were taken care of and make sure that the mules were, being handled correctly, not being abused. But the system, the Mercy Man, ignored the plight of the black workers who were often being tortured in these camps. And so the story of Charlie Idaho in this case, as the story says, kind of took matters into his own hands. And it really represents a strong dichotomy of moral discussion, of moral decay, of moral fabric. And I think that's what stories and songs and folklore should do, is drag us deeper into this. So the Mercy Man, to me, as I was taking some notes, and I went back and I read Alan Lomax's book after I heard this song that jogged my memory here. But what struck me is the Mercy Man represents things like compassion and accountability and maybe even government oversight of systems and things and beliefs and people. Perhaps the story itself addresses basic human dignity and basic human rights that we take very seriously here in the United States. But what happens, I think, in this story is we see an examination of what happens when somebody says, enough is enough. What happens when mercy finally stands up and defends itself? So while coming to check the mules and take care of the mules, the Mercy Man turns kind of a blind eye to the brutality that's going on to the black workers here in these levee camps. And there's no sense about it. They were being tortured. And nobody really cared because the worker could easily be replaced. The mule had value. So, what happens when we devalue humans for ideals? It's a tough question. Now, Mike Madison, his song comes, and probably a lot of you don't know him unless you probably follow the Tedeschi Trucks band. You probably know him as one of the vocalists in the band, one of the musicians. But what he asks here in this song, Charlie Idaho, on his Afterglow record, which I'll link in the description of this video, what he asks is, he keeps asking in this song, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you encounter this problem? When you encounter this social dichotomy? What are you going to do when you see it happening? What are you going to do when we know that the problems still exist and you don't do anything about it? What are you going to do? Can you do anything about it? What are you going to do when the boss owns the work and owns the labor, in essence? This was in the 1920s, 1930s, well after slavery ended, right? Think about that. But it also asks, what are you going to do when Mr. Charlie owns the land? In essence, he owns the law. And in reality, he owns you. What are you going to do? Are you going to stand up for your own rights? Or are you just going to be a flash in the pan? Are you going to be quiet? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when the man sticks the knife in your back or puts the stick up in your town? What are you going to do? So Charlie Idaho sounds like a man, but I don't think so. I think Charlie Idaho is a system. I think Charlie Idaho is a problem. I think Mr. Charlie is a machine, not necessarily a person. And the song asks us this important question: what are you going to do when you come face to face with the mercy man who's ignoring your problem for a more minor interest? Because I think we could all argue that the minor interest, it has an interest, but humans are something too. And human rights and human dignity are important too. So when we examine the psychology of all of this, we have to ask ourselves, has Charlie come? What are you going to do when Charlie comes? You're just going to stand there and look Mr. Charlie in the eye and go, yes, sir, boss. Yes, sir. Or are you going to reject him? Are you going to put a stop to him before he gets any more power? I've been there, having to say, yes, sir, boss. Yes, sir, boss. I've been there. Mr. Charlie ain't a good man. Mr. Charlie's a problem. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to let your voice be heard? Are you going to take matters into your own hands and protest? Are you going to peacefully walk the streets? Are you going to resist Mr. Charlie, whoever Mr. Charlie is? What are you going to do? But then towards the end of this song, I noticed something as I was listening at Mike Madison sing this song and his band play this song. They kept coming to this line, at least the poor boy died. Well, what does that mean? What does at least the poor boy died? What can I make out of this? Well, maybe it's just another way of saying, give me liberty or give me death. So I want to encourage you, number one, to go back and read this book by Alan Lomax. And then I want you to go and listen to the song. Probably listen to the song first. It'll give you a little bit more context of the book. But the song piqued my interest in a book that I had read long ago when I first started studying folklore. When I first started studying American folk. Now, the song gives me a more interesting perspective that I'm not sure I had when I was younger. So I'm Matt. These are my random thoughts on American folklore, history, psychology, and modern life. and how it all comes together. If you like this, please subscribe. I really appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.